Welcome to the Vol Bros, presented by the Uluwat Club. My name is Evan. This is my brother Ruston, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And as always, we are very proud to represent the University of Tennessee on the Believe Entertainment Network. And I did use the football intro for this show because it's football season, but this is definitely not just a football show tonight. We're going to be talking baseball, basketball, football. It is a big weekend on Rocky Top. And we are so fortunate and so happy to have two very special guests with us tonight. Right now, there's a lot of celebration on Rocky Top with the hire of Josh Elander. And we actually have current Vol baseball player Hunter High. His parents are with us tonight. Brent and Emily, welcome. We are so glad you're with us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us, guys. Congrats on 3 years coming up with the podcast.
I appreciate that very much. It's really cool. Like I said, Nick, we were just talking about it before we started. Next week will be 3 years of the Vol Bros, so very exciting. Well, obviously, everybody has now seen the reveal, the coach reveal video. That was really cool that they did that. Obviously, the thing that caught everybody's attention was the reaction of the team when Josh came walking in that room. They just exploded. They love him. And so, as you know, Brent, we saw your reaction on X, very celebratory as well. And so our question to you all is, first of all, why did the team react that way? What do you all know that we don't know? And what do you all know about Josh Elander as a coach that you think will make him successful where, arguably the top program in the country right now, the most funded program in the country. What do you feel like is going to make him successful there? What do you know about him that the average Tennessee fan like me and doesn't know?
Well, the real reason I think is these, and he said it in his statement to the team, he's known these guys since they were babies. I mean, he first laid eyes on Hunter in the summer of 21 when he just finished his sophomore year.
Wow.
And you think about all the hours and all the reps and the practices and the engagements and just the personal interactions. He's family. And when you have a chance to continue with family as opposed to a complete unknown, you choose family every time.
Yeah, there was never, when the news dropped of the possibility of V leaving, there was never a doubt or a waver with Hunter. It was Elander all the way, the entire team. It's Elander. If V leaves, it's Elander.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I give Tony a ton of credit. Coach Don Meyer is one of my big mentors at Lipscomb coming up, and he would always emphasize to us as we were going off into business, always train your replacement. And it was for two reasons. One is for the Mack truck moment, right? Which God forbid. But the other one was, if you ever decide to do something else or you decide to leave, the work continues. The ground that you've tilled, the kingdom you've built doesn't collapse. There's somebody there to continue it. And this is just spot on the way he elevated him 3 years ago to associate head coach, gave him more responsibilities. He was perfectly positioned to be the guy.
I'm curious from a parent perspective. Emily, you just mentioned that it kind of leaked out that Tony was considering this. What was the communication like with the players through the process, and how much communication did parents get as well?
On Saturday morning when it leaked, Tony met with the team in right field and told them they had no idea. From my understanding, the assistants had no idea, and he was very upset that it had gotten leaked because he's very protective of those guys and wanted to be the one that controlled the narrative, and was very, very upset and very sad because he had not controlled it, which made it hard.
Well, it also came out right before a certain football game that didn't help Vol Nation at all.
Yeah.
Well, as you all know, Vol Nation is very rational and very, very calm.
Not emotional at all.
Yeah. So it's not like it was a big game or anything that the third Saturday in October or anything. It was definitely not maybe the best timing in the world.
Well, as
So-
much as Tony loves all the sports and is a huge supporter of all the
Right.
sports, I mean, we've seen him be on the baseball field and get in a car and drive to Lexington to be behind the bench at the basketball game during, preseason. So he would never have wanted that to happen.
I'm glad you said that. That's a great point. And
So-
the thing that what you just mentioned, Tony endeared himself so much to Vol Nation, and part of what you just said is why his support of other teams, and part of that endearment he had to Vol Nation was the first line of his statement that he released. I think it was yesterday morning or Friday, when he said, well, as I'm sure everyone now knows, I've accepted the position to go babysit Drew Gilbert. That was great.
Well, and I told Emily the other night when this was still up in the air, I was this close to putting this out there and just expressing what I thought we were dealing with if we were to move potentially from Tony to E. And as you guys probably know, when Tony walks out to home plate for the umpire meeting, there's a certain song that plays over the PA, and it's the Top Gun anthem. And I've always thought, Tony is Maverick. And in many ways, and you can see this in a lot of different levels, but it breaks down at some level. It's fictional movie. But I feel like in many ways we're moving from Maverick to Iceman.
Yep.
And there's so many good things about Iceman that if you watch the latest movie, he ends up being a 4-star admiral and the top guy in the Navy. But I think Tennessee needed, when Tony came in, they needed Maverick. I mean, you're competing with Florida that had won 2 years before. Arkansas had been right there, a pop fly away from winning it the year before he got there. You're fighting with LSU. You got a certain team here in our city, in the middle of the state, that had kind of put their stake in the ground. You needed a rebel. You needed a guy that wasn't afraid and would tell other people not to be afraid. But make no mistake, this guy we have now, he is elite. And if you're in the baseball world, you didn't settle in what we just put at the head seat of the table for the Vols. He is legit.
So I'm curious from your all's perspective, because Hunter's a competitor. I love watching him play. I think he brings an edge to the game that team needs. Coach Elander's not really a rah-rah guy like Tony is. How does the staff reshuffle to continue to have that rah-rah guy be a little more prominent? Because I think they need it. I think it's part of their kind of body of work, who they are. So from your all's perspective, how does that staff shuffle to kind of replace that side of Tony?
I think E will be that way behind closed doors. I think he's just as fiery as V, but he's not going to do it in public. And I think he's going to give his team freedom to fill that void. That's what I think. I mean, I've never, had a huge long conversation with Elander, but I feel like the fire is there. It's just going to be displayed in a different way, more behind the scenes.
Awesome.
Well,
So I'm curious, coming out of fall, I've heard there's a high probability Hunter starting in right field. Is that kind of your all's expectation as well?
That's what they call rat poison, Ruston. We don't buy into any of that. I mean, we've been at this long enough to know that you take it a day at a time. and there are no givens. I mean, you've basically walked in. If you are on campus in Knoxville, you've basically become a member of the New York Yankees.
Yep.
I mean, these guys they're bringing in every year, and there was recruiting classes in the portal. I mean, there was a great moment this summer. Hunter's playing up in New England and started the game, and obviously had to put his phone up, and then the draft starts. So I text him, knowing that it'll be the first text he picks up when he picks his phone back up after the summer game. I said, "Hey, Hunt, just so you know, while you were playing that summer game, you have 8 new millionaire teammates." Just in those 3 hours, right? 8 draft picks in the first 3 rounds. So the competition up there is unbelievable. And he's going to fight. You know, we had a little thing that we saw on the internet not too long ago where I forget the origin of it, but it was fight like it's starting to rain and you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark. And, you know, just do whatever you can every day to just fight. And that's his mentality. I mean, he's a football player, and he is part of a great group of guys up there. And I'm so glad that this decision was made that'll keep that group together.
Well, we're super excited for Hunter. We're super excited for all the guys. You know, some of the folks in the comments, and I'll finish with this. We're asking about. We mentioned on our show, like, would Danny take a risk on? Is it a risk? I mean, that's the unique thing about this hire, is, and this is me talking. This is not the High family talking. This is a unique hire because, on one hand, it's a risk because this is E's first gig as a head guy, and it's, you know, one of the top programs in the nation. But at the same time, it was also the safe hire because it's who every player, every recruit, every former player wanted. The outpouring of support immediately after the news with Tony was announced from former players, you know, petitioning for Josh Elander to get the job was incredible. I mean, just the amount of people who commented. So I guess my last question for you, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, Chris Berkey was talking on one of his podcasts the other day, and he was talking about how you had all these SEC coaches that this was their first head coaching job. You know, V's first head coaching job was Tennessee, and I think O'Sullivan, and he named a bunch of them. But the crazy thing about that, you'll say, okay, well, the program wasn't what it was. You know, V grew the program to what it is now. So, but that's what people miss, is Elander was there every day.
Sure.
That V was there. So he grew it too. You know, he was the right hand. And so to me, it's not scary, even though he doesn't have any head coaching experience, and he's going to have to talk to the media and do the things that he has never wanted to do. But from a baseball standpoint, I think it's a home run for sure. And I know the boys feel that way. When the video dropped yesterday, Brent sent it to me, and I was in line at Publix and I cried. The cashier was like, "What in the world?" But you know, it was emotional because those boys, with their whole heart, wanted him to get the job. So that was neat to see as a mom.
That's awesome.
And I want to give Danny a ton of credit on this too, because I don't sense that baseball is kind of his everyday sport, right? I mean, this was a basketball player at Notre Dame, and if you look at the financials in a $234 million operation, you know, baseball's bringing in a couple million a year in ticket sales, so they're not the gorilla that football and basketball are. But I want to give him a ton of credit, I think, for listening to the boys and including them in the process, listening to the alumni, listening to guys like Todd Helton and Chris Burke that obviously love the program. And I want to compliment him on the speed in which it was done.
Yes.
I would not have expected for it to be up and done and over. And kudos to the group too for the theater and setting it all up and having it multi-camera recorded, because it captured that moment that you just can't fake. I mean, those boys erupting out of those seats, they didn't know. They just might have heard him walk up there and announce another guy that was not Josh in that moment. Can you imagine that kind of emotion sitting there just waiting for him to announce who it was going to be? So it was all very real.
I mean, Hunter alluded to that in a conversation we had with him. In his mind, he was saying, "What are we going to do if it's not Josh? What are we? How are we going to react? Because you can't just, not sit there and show no emotions, but at the same time, you want this other guy with your whole heart." So he, that was playing out in there. I know it was playing out in Hunter's mind, so it had to be playing out in the other guys' minds as well.
Well, I love that. And I mean, the fact that they're so bought in, they're so invested in Josh, that's going to do nothing but pay dividends in the future. And so very excited about that. And I love what Josh Elander said in that video. He said, nothing's changing. We're going to keep right on going. I love that because like you said, I love two things each of you have said. Emily, you said that, he's been there this whole time. He was part of the reason why it is what it is right now. And Brent, you made a great point. Tennessee fans don't have to worry. They have someone who is elite. And that's all anybody ever wants to hear, right?
Yeah. And the last thing I'll leave you with, Hunter told us this would have been the fall of 23 when he had just gotten to campus and been there, for a few months going through fall ball. And I will remember him vividly saying, I think we have a chance to win it all. Obviously they did. And so I'll say that his comment this fall so far, he thinks this team may be the deepest of the three he's been on.
Wow.
So this thing is not it's not ramping down. And with these recruiting classes that they got coming in the next couple of years, it's off. Let's go.
I want to say one more thing, and you all can assume it's rat poison. But I'm a huge Don Meyer fan as well. Used to go to all of Coach Meyer's clinics. One of the things Coach Meyer always said was he would take a competitor who's a hard worker over the donor's kid or the principal's kid every day of the week. I think Tony set a precedent of there's always going to be some hard-nosed kid from Tennessee in that lineup. It started with Evan Russell, then it went to Hunter Inslee, and I firmly believe Hunter's the next one on that list. And I think they need him in that lineup every day. I think he brings an edge that those other guys, Hunter Inslee, Evan Russell, that they brought to that lineup as well. And I think they see it too. I think they're gonna recognize he's gonna be a big piece of what they do.
Well, we're just proud that he's competing and fighting and enjoying it. If you saw we were in Chattanooga, when he got to second base, he's enjoying himself and enjoying his teammates, enjoying competing. And so it's going to be fun. And there, as Brent alluded, that the team chemistry is really, really good this year. So it's going to be fun to watch them for sure.
Yeah, I lied, guys. I got one more thing to throw on the fire here. The other thing about Josh, and this is completely nonverbal, but the example that he is to these young men in the way you watch him treat Brittany and interact with those girls. Now you're into all the intangible stuff,
Absolutely.
right? So we are thrilled beyond measure that Josh is the head coach. And I don't think anything goes anything but up from here. And we're excited for February to get here.
Well, like
Awesome.
you said, kudos to Danny White, who did what he said he was going to do. He honored his word. He said he was going to listen to the players, that they were his primary concern, and he did just that. And so Danny White continues to hit him out of the park, and he's done it again. To the 558 people watching across all three platforms, we thank you. And I thank Emily and Brent on their behalf as well. Some folks were chiming in there while we were talking and agreeing with you all. Carl said that Carl loves Tennessee baseball, by the way. He doesn't miss a game. He loves it. And he said Elander, Frank Anderson, Ross, and Q, they know the formula. He said they're going to Omaha. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, tell Carl to come say hello. We've already made best friends with Earl and Judy, so we love the Browns. So tell Carl to come say hi to us in Section A or 108, I think. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows
There
where
you
we'll
go.
be this year.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, thank you all so much. We so appreciate your time. 2 college athletes we're talking to right here. 1 Hall of Famer as well. That's pretty awesome. So we do appreciate you all so much. We wish nothing but the best for Hunter this year. I hope he has a fantastic season, and hopefully we get to see him in Omaha this year as well.
Blessings, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We are so appreciative that Brent and Emily joined us. That was awesome getting to have them with us. We got 574 people watching across all 3 platforms right now. So we welcome you. That you got to hear it straight from 2 parents of one of the Vol baseball players, their reaction to Josh Elander's hiring. Clearly they're very excited, and it sounds like all of Vol Nation has every reason to be very excited as well. Well, that's the first part of our show. Now we're going to transition into football, and we got a regular football reaction show we're going to do, and then we're going to talk about basketball because they just played too. It's crazy that a scrimmage game was sold out on ESPN2 with Jimmy Dykes and Tom Hart on the call. I mean, it's a scrimmage game. It felt like it was March. It was amazing. Well, let's talk about some football. Carl said it was awesome to have players' families join. I totally agree, man. I totally agree. Let's see here. To all the people in the comments, I appreciate you all commenting so far. Thank you so much. Clay, glad you're here. Rebel Jew, glad you're here, buddy. I'm going to try to get, from this point forward, I'm going to try to get everybody's comments on the screen because we got a Kentucky game to talk about. Tennessee wins pretty convincingly at Kentucky. Ruston, what were your initial thoughts and takeaways from that game?
Really good job by Joey Aguilar, managing the game, making great decisions. He never really put us in any kind of a negative situation. Felt like he managed things really, really well. I still cannot understand why we don't run block better. At the end of the first half, I think we had 39 yards rushing at halftime. We were averaging 1.8 yards per carry. It's amazing that we just can't seem to run block better. It was good to see them make a concerted effort to run the ball, and they had to add tight ends to do it. They had to go 12 personnel a lot, had 90 yards rushing in the second half. Made a couple of good adjustments, figured some things out. This upcoming Saturday is going to be interesting. I think because of depth issues in the secondary, Tim Banks is going to have to get real creative. They're going to have to start sending more guys, force Mateer to get rid of the ball fast. The main issue with that is if you miss one tackle, it could be to the house. And that's one reason why he hasn't done more of it is the tackling has concerned him to the point that he's not stunning as much as he normally would. So they're going to have to get real creative. They're going to have to try to disguise some things, catch Mateer off guard. I'm sure they're going to tell the defensive line. I don't understand. The defensive line disappears for long periods of time. Like they'll make one huge play and then they won't get to the quarterback for like a quarter and a half. I can't figure out why. It makes no sense. So they've got to get better pressure up front this Saturday. They've got to do a better job disguising coverage and confusing Mateer. And then I think it's going to be a shootout, and we're just going to have to outscore them.
Yeah, totally agree. I totally agree. Some of the comments coming through. I've got some basketball comments that I'll get to those here in a little bit. Chris, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. You said go Vols from Buffalo. That's what I'm talking about. Mississippi Vols said the offense. Oh, yeah. Defense. Oh, no. That's pretty fair. That's a fair assessment. Yeah. Let's see. Carl said we can't run up the middle. Hype keeps trying. Chris said we need a defense.
He's not really just trying to run up the middle. He's setting up play action. I mean, how many touchdowns have we scored in the last month off play action bombs, either down the middle of the field or down the sideline? Sometimes you run things to set up the next thing, and he's doing a lot of that.
Jonathan said offensively we played very good, except running the ball. Defense was suspect. We have to learn how to tackle. This defense is infuriating. Also, not how to just totally blow coverages too. Oreo Puppy Dog said, "How many SEC teams are getting in the playoffs?" We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Plan on doing that here in just a little bit. Clay said, "Joey looked good. He's so good. Career day for him. Just an incredible game." Nolan said, "If we could clone Jaden Perlotti, I'd take 2 of them in a heartbeat. I love the effort he plays with."
He's got another gear. I was surprised. I was not expecting to see him pop this early. Man, I can't fathom what that kid's going to look like in a year after a solid offseason in a college strength program. I mean, that kid flies, and he comes with an anger. I mean, that dude's coming to strike you and inflict pain. It's pretty amazing to watch in a true freshman.
Mina Laki agrees. She said, "I second that." Billy said, "What I can't figure out is why can't the Vols be just as good as Georgia or Alabama? Because when you need to be the best, the Vols fall in that fashion."
Well, everybody has their down weeks. Look at Alabama this past weekend. South Carolina should have won that game. They gave it away.
Won that game. Absolutely. Elijah said, "Get Boo Carter off my football team." And Chris said, "Boo is the highest paid fair catch player in football."
Well,
that's pretty good.
I would love to know what's happening behind closed doors today after they watch that film and watch how he played Saturday. The complete lack of effort on multiple plays is just infuriating. And, we talk about it all the time. There's 11 guys on defense. 10 of them can do their job. And if one guy doesn't, it's Katie bar the door, house call. They ran that fake screen fly route. Boo Carter totally blew his coverage and then just watched the dude take off and jogged after him. I'm done with that kid. He needs to head on to Boulder, stop wasting everybody's time, and stop taking reps from guys that are going to help us in the future.
Carl just gifted somebody else a membership. Carl, you're the man, dude. This is fantastic.
And then, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that, because this afternoon his mother went online and talked about how sick she was of Vol fans and how excited she is for the season to be over. So, that kid needs to go. This was a bad decision to keep him around. He just needs to go.
Nolan said, "I thought Beasley, Spillman, and Perlotti all looked pretty good. I'm happy with the youth we brought in over the past 2 years." Totally agree. Mississippi Vol said, "What about that Texas at Mississippi State game?" I picked Mississippi State to win it. Unfortunately, they did not. They should have. They did not. Tony said he hopes Elander works out. We all do, man. Absolutely. Totally understand what you're saying there. Sam said, "What I don't get is how does Boo think the tape he's putting out will help him transfer?" That's a fair point.
Because he already knows where he's going. He doesn't care. And the team he's going to doesn't care.
Elijah said, "I do think Idris Farouk will be a star at safety in a year or two." I agree. Rebel G said, "Saturday is a playoff elimination game. That worries me the most about Oklahoma. Every Saturday from here on out is a playoff elimination game. Tennessee's playoff started yesterday. Every single game is a playoff game because if they lose any of them, they're out of the playoff." A couple of people mentioned Brian Kelly got fired today. Yes, he did. John said, "I wonder if part of the problem on defense is the other players don't want to play with Boo." Who knows? Who knows? That Brian Kelly deal's weird. They informed him of their intention to fire him.
Mm-hmm. That's code for our attorneys haven't finished drawing up the paperwork yet, but you're done.
Unbelievable.
They also have to figure out where they're going to come up with $54 million over the weekend. So,
Yep.
they got to give him 54 million reasons to walk out the door.
My general thoughts and takeaways are first of all, I mean, good grief. Joey Aguilar, what a day. What a day. 396 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, what do you want more from a guy, right? I mean, like, that's incredible. It was very concerning that the weakest offense we have played yet in the SEC, we still could not keep them under 30 points. That is very concerning. And it ain't getting easier. We're sitting here talking about the playoffs. Like we got to win out. We still have to beat Oklahoma. We still have to beat Vanderbilt. We still got to beat Florida. This is far from over, and we got to make sure that we are getting better every week on defense, because the defense that we're producing right now, like you said, every game is going to be a shootout. It's very frustrating.
And some of it is they're okay with that. They're saying, hey, we've got depth issues. We're going to play, fly around, see what we can create. And, they're okay with trading touchdowns for touchdowns if every once in a while we get a defensive huge play or a defensive touchdown. I think if we were behind the door and could hear the conversation is, hey, we just got to score more than they do. So if the defense can go create 6 points, go create 6 points. Fly around, play crazy, see if you can knock balls out. Whatever you got to do to create some havoc, go do it. And if we give up a touchdown because of it, so be it. We'll go score on the next possession. So I think that's a lot. People keep talking about the defense's feast or famine. It's probably intentional.
Let's see here. Elijah said the fact that Pavia is in Heisman conversations and Joey isn't shows bias. It's ridiculous. The fact that anybody in the SEC is in the Heisman any quarterback. The quarterback leading the SEC in almost every single statistical category is Joey Aguilar. He is leading the conference in passing yards. I believe he's second in passing touchdowns. The guy is he's tearing it up in he's leading in most passes over 10 yards, most passes over 20 yards, and most passes over 40 yards. He's leading in so many statistical categories. It's unbelievable that, Ty Simpson's getting all this Heisman talk. Pavia, for some reason, is getting Heisman talk. And the guy that's outplaying both of them isn't getting any talk. It's ridiculous. And he 100% deserves to be in that conversation. Sam said, without drops, this year, Joey stats would be insane. Yeah, you're right, for sure. I mean, think about it. 2 of the interceptions were balls that hit Miles Kitzelman in the shoulder pad and bounced up in the air 15 feet, and the defense caught it. I mean, if the ball hits you in the shoulder pad, that's a catchable ball, like that should be caught. Let's see. Nolan, channel member, appreciate you, buddy. He said, I just want everyone to look at guys like Boo, then look at Deshaun Bishop, Brew, Zakai Ziegler, others. You see effort and desire matters more than pure talent. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Rebel Jew said he thinks Shane Beamer or Dabo will be fired next. Let's see. John said, when Hood went into the injury tent, started third quarter, I got very nervous. Yeah, buddy. You can't afford to lose that guy. Cannot afford to lose him. Tony said, terrible tackling and lack of effort is where I draw the line. Unacceptable. Yeah, lack of effort for sure. No doubt about it. Because even if you're not playing well, you cannot play well while hustling, for sure. Carl, you're the man, dude. Thank you so much. Thank you. He just gave a $10 super chat, and he said, Smokey eats the wheels off that garbage wagon this weekend. That's great. Well, hey, we want to hear everybody's answers to this question in the comments. Ruston, who was your player of the game yesterday? I think we're probably all going to have the same guy.
Yeah, if anybody's answer is anything other than a guy named Joey Aguilar, you did not watch the game.
That is correct. Yeah. I
And you
will
go
say
20 for 26 for almost 400 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, you're the guy.
Totally agree. Yeah, and Elijah said has to be Joey. I mean, he was my pick too. He can't not be him, right? I will say shout out to Dominic Bailey, honorable mention Dominic Bailey. He had a phenomenal game. Jalen McMurray, honorable mention Jalen McMurray. He had a fantastic game. You could make a case for Drees as well. But I'm telling you, Dominic Bailey had maybe his best game of the season so far. It was fantastic.
You keep sliding the guy that had 15 tackles.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Edwin Spillman, easily his best game as of all, easily. And you know what? It needed to be because Arion Carter couldn't play. And so they needed Edwin to step up big time. They needed Jaden Perlotti to step up big time. And both of those guys did. So shout out to those two guys. They both played very well. But got to be Joey as the player of the game. You know, like he said, Adrees. Let's see. Mississippi Vol said Joey. Ooh, excuse me. Papa J said, if we were to make a change for defensive coach, who would it be? I don't think that's going to happen certainly not before the end of the season.
It's not going to happen at all.
That's not Heupel's MO.
He has 2 future first-round draft picks at corner who haven't played a down. Like, this is a very different defense if those 2 guys are on the field.
Carl said Deshaun Bishop was his runner-up for player of the game. Clay said our defense needs to be better this week, but I'm not confident. But I love the black jerseys, though. So hasn't that been confirmed? I know there's like tons of rumors going around on.
Yeah.
They have confirmed it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we're going dark mode on Saturday. Twitter was all a Twitter with the rumors of it, but I hadn't yet seen a confirmation. So I'm good to know that it has been confirmed. Rebel Juice said out of Oklahoma, Florida, and Vanderbilt, which worries you the most? Vanderbilt.
Yep.
And then I agree with you. Florida is always tough because you're going through the swamp, and it's Florida. It's just different. Let's see. I mean, like he said, like me, she gets more than one pick for player of the game. So Adrees and Joey. Elijah said, are we going to talk some basketball tonight? Yep, that's coming up here in just a minute. For sure. Jonathan said it was absolutely Joey. I would have loved to have seen McIntyre the last drive and let him sling it to see how he would do. Oriel Puppy Dog said Adrees played good. Absolutely he did. Nolan said maybe the Bama game was our come to Jesus moment with the wide receivers, and they've been hitting the jugs machines. Maybe so. Tony said Joey, it's not even close. I knew he was going to be good for us. Elijah said run the score up on the Sooners. So correct. Style points, I believe, is what we're looking for here. Style points. Listen, if people say style points don't matter, they mattered today because yesterday Virginia was ranked ahead of us. Both of us won yesterday. Virginia narrowly escaped North Carolina, literally by like 3 millimeters, escaped a loss to North Carolina. Tennessee won convincingly. Tennessee has 2 losses. Virginia has 1, but in the AP poll today, Tennessee is now leapfrog Virginia. So clearly style points matter. Like for all the folks who say they don't, clearly they do. So you got to have style points. You just have to. Nolan said players of the game was the O-line because they're either giving Joey enough time to throw a bomb or they're opening gaps for running backs to dash down the field. That's a fair point. Yeah.
Not in the first half.
Yeah, Joey got hurried quite a bit in the first half, but
we also had
were,
39 yards in the first half rushing, 1.8 yards per carry.
Yep. Let's see. Tony said, "I'm old, been to dark mode, don't like it." I love it, man. That's great. That's the beauty of all nation, isn't it? We all long for the orange and white for sure. That dark mode is pretty sweet, though. It is pretty sweet. Carl said, "We are Vandy's Super Bowl #1." Yeah, that's totally fair. Elijah said, "It's weird for me. Vandy looks pretty good, but they don't worry me one bit. The only person that gives me a shiver on that team is Stowers. For sure. Dude's going to be probably first round draft pick." Rebel G said, "I hope Joey plays the rest of the season like he did last night. That loss to Alabama awoken something in him." I hope so too, man. Oreo Puppy Dog said, "The Oklahoma coach may be fired after the Tennessee game." Nah, he won't be. He won't be. Clay said, "I think player of the game was Joey, 1,000%. Kevin said, "The AP poll doesn't matter when the college football poll comes out. Then I'll start paying attention." I get that. I totally understand, but it does matter because listen, the people in that college football playoff committee room, every single week, the AP poll is going to be released 2 days before they release their poll. They can't not know what that poll says. All of them are going to know what it says. And if we think that it doesn't impact what they do, that would, in my opinion, be erroneous. It can't not impact at least a little bit of their thought process in what they do. It just can't. Like it has to. And like they're humans. And so they're going to see that poll. They're going to see the coaches poll every single week. And that can't not impact what they do. Let's see. Papa J said 3 wide receivers with more than 100 yards passing or receiving. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you're right. Ethan Davis was back, which was huge. That's a big deal. Nolan said Vandy beating us is equal to beating Bama times 1,000,000. Let's see. I believe Orange said he's happy Elander's the guy. Let's see. Rebel G said Joey kind of reminded me a little bit of Hendon Hooker with how he played last night. For sure. Man, his deep ball is beautiful. It is gorgeous. Let's see. Jason, welcome, buddy. There's a new channel member. This is the gentleman that Carl just gifted a membership to. He said it's different when the receivers are matched talent-wise. Alabama, we needed the defense to step up. Yeah, you're exactly right. You're 100% right. Yep. I Bleed Orange said, "Did you see the players' reaction to Elander?" We sure did. I Bleed Orange, I encourage you to go back when we're done and watch the beginning of the show. We had current Vol baseball player Hunter High, his parents, on our show, and they got to give us their take on the hiring of Elander. It was very good. Let's see. Carl said selection committee just needs a magic 8-ball. I believe Orange said, "Is there any way we can still make the SEC championship?" Technically, yes. Realistically, no. Mathematically, we are still alive, but no, we're not going to be in it.
Nor do we want to.
That's fair, because if we were to make it somehow, then we would be on the bubble, and that might knock us out of the playoff, depending on how that goes.
Not might. You got 2 losses and you lose in the SEC championship, you are not going to be in the playoffs. I want nothing to do with that game.
Tony said if you score 30 against a Venables defense, that's a pretty good night, but we might need 40. Yes, 100%. We will need at least 40, if not 45 or 47. 100%. So, with that being said, let's do our play of the game. We'd love to hear your comments as well on what you think the play. I think you have a lot of good options coming out of this game. Rustin, what was your play of the game?
Yeah, I'll take Idris Farouk's pick six. Thought it set a tone for the rest of the first half. Perfectly timed stunt. Did a fantastic job getting his hands up. I'll take that all day.
Well, so I 100% agree with you. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. Yes, it was an incredible, athletic play that he made. But even more than that was the timing in the game that it was. It set a tone for the rest of the whole game that was huge. It was a big, big deal. It quickly put us up by 2 scores, and it was a big, big deal in that moment of the game. And it was just a phenomenal play. Like, kudos to Idris. It was fantastic. Elijah said any of the deep shots from Joey was his play of the game. Oriole Puppy Dog said the Idris Farouk pick six. Elijah said the fumble was also funny. Yeah, man, it was like something you see from the Bad News Bears, man. It was hilarious. Clay said pick six as well. Carl said staying with that fumble. And then not only to stay with it, but then to cause another fumble after a Kentucky player had picked it up and to knock it out again. Like he said, Idris Farouk was that her play of the game. Jonathan said Idris Farouk was his play in the game, and the funniest play was the fumble. I believe Arn said his favorite thing about the game was Kentucky getting reality that we're still better than them. It was interesting. So Braylon Staley's dad put a video on Twitter this morning, and it was right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. I think it was right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. All the Kentucky fans were gone. The only fans remaining in the stands were Tennessee fans. It was hilarious. Let's see here. Like you said, I saw the fumble set to the Blue Danube Waltz. That would be hilarious. I'd like to see that. That was pretty good. To the 730 people watching, we appreciate you all watching. We're going to talk a little basketball now. So Ruston, obviously Tennessee scrimmages, Duke tonight. Totally new look team for Tennessee this year. Richard, welcome, buddy. Glad you're with us from Oregon. That's incredible. I believe Arn said, can you imagine George under this offense? He's leaning a lot. I see a first round pick. I'm assuming he's talking about George McIntyre.
Yep.
Let's see. Carl said the Mike Matthews catch for a 62-yard touchdown was his play of the game. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. 58 yards in the air. Joey threw that ball 58 yards in the air. Pretty impressive. So what were your thoughts about the basketball team tonight?
Well, first, I love that they did this exhibition. It's always really good for a team to do good on good, and face stiff competition and really find out where your issues are. I hope people are rational and go, it's October 26th. There is literally not a basketball team in America in October 26th that will be the same in January. And so I thought probably the biggest takeaway for me was there is a ton of talent on that roster. They got a bunch of new guys who are still trying to figure out how to play with each other. They're still trying to figure out what their rotations are and who's going to match up and pair well with who. Bishop Boswell got 24 minutes tonight. Aton Berg got 13. Amari Abrams got 13. I see that probably flipping by January.
100%.
I think Aton Berg, it's actually Aton Borg. They kept calling him Berg. It's actually Borg. I thought Aton Borg could end up being, I think they'll probably, by the time they get to conference play, I think he's going to be the Jordan Bowden. I think he's going to probably be the sixth man, and they'll use him for instant offense off the bench. He was still trying to figure out how he fit into everything, but the explosive ability to score was very obvious, and he's always looking for his shot. So I think as he gets more into what they're doing, he's probably going to end up being a big part of their scoring as a six man, which is why I think we'll probably see Amari Abrams be the starting shooting guard. They'll probably go with him just for a little more athleticism and defensive pressure, and a little bit of a better ability to get to the rim than Bishop Boswell has. I think Borg is going to be the X factor, though, and I love what I see up front as those guys continue to learn how to play with each other. Jalen Carey clearly still is trying to figure out where he fits in. That's a guy who can give you 10 and 10 every night when he figures out where he fits. Felix looks like a different player. Having JP Estrella there every day pushing him has definitely grown him as a player. Dwayne Brown, that's an active freshman. That joker almost messed around and got a double-double tonight. He finished with 10.6 rebounds. And
Carl just said the freshman Brown looked really good. He really looked good.
He
looked like an athlete.
Ever stops moving. You know, a lot of freshmen will get confused or not be sure what's happening, and they'll kind of slow down to try to figure things out. That joker is 100 miles an hour all the time. That kid's going to be special. I've not seen a freshman play that hard, that consistently, in a very, very long time. And yes, as Elijah said, he reclassed. He should still be in high school. That was a fantastic addition. They got so many pieces. Jacoby Gillespie, he's a fire starter.
Can you imagine the poor high school kids that he would be playing against?
Oh,
that wouldn't be fair.
That's child abuse. You know, Jacoby Gillespie is a fire starter. He's the kind of dude that can all of a sudden get on a heater and drop 30 on you before you even know where he is. You know, he's going to have some of those nights this year. He's going to have some nights where he just gets unconscious and he's just pulling from everywhere, and they can't double him because there's so much talent around him. You know, I liked in the second half, they ran some concerted plays to force Nate Ament to take certain shots. I think that helps him. Helps him understand where he is in the game. And I think probably my biggest takeaway from tonight was the fact that the Associated Press thinks that there are 17 teams in the United States better than Tennessee shows why the Associated Press should never be allowed to vote on anything. Because no rational human being who has ever watched a day of basketball in their life could watch that team practice and go, yeah, I think they're probably like 17, 18, 20th in the country. Not a chance. That is a top 5 team, hands down. We may have even just watched a preview of the national championship because those are two really, really good teams.
Yep, totally agree. You know, I think there were a couple interesting things that happened tonight. The reason I say that it's interesting is because of what has been put out by those players and the Tennessee basketball account on Twitter over the last 2 or 3 months. We saw JP Estrella hit a 3 and looked really good doing it.
And Felix Okpara.
And that was the other thing I was going to say. And Felix Okpara hit a 3. Now, here's why that's interesting to me. First of all, JP Estrella posted a video on Twitter of him doing private workouts over the summer. And he was working like crazy on a shot. And, I mean, he was draining them one right after another. And it wasn't like it was edited. It was just, you know, him catching the ball and shooting, catching the ball and shooting. So he was hitting them repeatedly. And he hit the only one he took tonight. Felix Okpara hit one from the corner. It was not as smooth as JP's, but it was nothing but net, you know. The reason that's interesting is because there was a video that Tennessee basketball posted probably a month and a half ago, and it was Felix Okpara asking Rick Barnes, "Coach, can I shoot this?" And then he pulls up and shoots a 3 and drains it. So, I mean, clearly that's been something that's been discussed. That both of those shots were very interesting to me. Nate Ament, clearly a phenomenal athlete. He has to learn that he is very much a freshman. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
He needs to learn. First of all, he needs to put on some weight, and he needs to learn some strength, and he needs to learn that when he, they intentionally ran isolation stuff for him because he had smaller people than him guarding him. Because dude's 6'10", like he had people smaller than him guarding him. But even though they were smaller than him, he was still taking step back fadeaways, trying to shoot over him instead of just elevating over them and shooting the ball. That's something that he has to learn. If a dude that's guarding you is 6'5" and you're 6'10", you don't have to take a step back fadeaway, elevate over the guy and shoot the ball. I thought the most fascinating thing of the whole night was when Jimmy Dykes sat down on the bench next to Rick Barnes during the game and was interviewing him while they were playing. That in and of itself was must-see TV. Like when he goes, well, we can't do that right there, And then JP Estrella gets called for the illegal screen. And he goes, see, that right there. We have told JP Estrella he cannot get called for illegal screens, and he does it every single day. That was cracking me up. That I would pay money just to hear that all game long. That would be fantastic. But I mean, clearly the major takeaways, if you're a Tennessee fan, as you look at this team, it is so different than any team that we've seen from Rick Barnes' tenure at Tennessee. I mean, the whole tenure. This team is totally different. Think about last year. Last year they had, Igor, Felix, and Cade because JP was hurt. Dude, you got 5 guys, legit 5 guys, who every one of them will play significant minutes in every game. That are just big dudes now, And so that's going to be very different from last year. That doesn't even include Nate Ament. I'm just thinking of Carey and Felix, JP, Cade, and Dwayne Brown. I wasn't even including Nate Ament in there. When you include him, that's 6. But then you've got
they have a 5 that I've been told they've been practicing with in practice just to try it out and see. Where Nate moves to the 2, Cade plays the 3, and Estrella and Akpara inside together. So they have 6'11", 6'11", 6'11", 6'9" on the floor at the same time.
That wouldn't stink. I'll put it that way. That would not stink. And you've got 4 shooters if you're including JP and Felix.
Yeah. Well, no, they say Cade's actually one of the best shooters on the team. He just never looks for it.
Well, JP, you can tell he's been working his tail off on it because that was smooth.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason there was 39 pro scouts there tonight. There was a lot of talent running around that floor, especially big talent.
For sure.
Which one's the bad one?
Caden.
Yeah, poor Caden Boozer. Why couldn't Carlos have given him just a little bit of extra athleticism? I mean, how hard would it be to sit there and watch your twin brother be an absolute freak and get 24 points and 23 rebounds? And he played 39 of the 40 minutes, which that I thought was a little sketchy. Like, it's a preseason exhibition. Why are you putting your best stud out there for almost the entire game? That ain't going to bode well in January. And then you got Caden over there getting his 2 points. So they can say the Boozer twins scored 26 tonight. They don't have to break it down.
It was pretty wild. Cameron Boozer looks, I mean, it is Carlos Boozer reincarnated.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy how much he looks like him.
but a better shooter.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what's even going to be more awkward is next year when Cameron goes to the NBA in the first or second pick and Caden has to stay at Duke. Like, what do you do then?
Then, you consider the guard play tonight. Last year it was Zakai, Jemai. I mean, there were probably 5 guys, but not even that many. 3 guys that we would run in and out, 3 or 4. Bishop Boswell was an afterthought, essentially last year. They got, golly bum, Gillespie, Bishop Boswell, the kid from Louisiana Tech, Eton.
We played 10 guys tonight, and Troy Henderson didn't play because he's dinged up. But if he had been fully healthy, we would have played 11 guys tonight.
I mean, they got plenty of guys to rotate back there. And people say, well, what's that? I mean, seriously, why is that such a big deal? Okay, that's going to be a huge deal in March when now you've got more fouls to give. And you're not sitting there like, we only have 3 big guys that we can even put on the court. None of you can get in foul trouble. That's not a worry anymore. And at that point, that's a big deal. Some of the comments coming through, Elijah said Duke looked really good for the most part. They did. They came out in the second half on fire. That was kind of the difference in the game. Everybody, always talks about the first 5 minutes of the second half. That's the difference in the game. And they didn't miss a shot in the first 2.5 minutes in the second half. Carl said, hated the Duke Love Fest from the announcers, had to mute. I thought they were pretty fair. I mean, Jimmy Dykes' daughter was a cheerleader for Tennessee on the sideline. So, I mean, he's a Vol really right now. I'll never forget Jimmy Dykes just showing up like 3 hours before their game 2 years ago. And he was out there rebounding for Dalton as Dalton was warming up and passing him the ball and stuff. It was cracking me up. So Jimmy, he's a pretty big Vols guy right now. Nolan said Nate Ament looked like a freshman for real, but I think he'll get much better and look totally different come March. For sure. I believe I say Rick Barnes will get it figured out. So here's the thing. I'm not really putting a whole lot of stock in the fact that they lost tonight because they were intentionally putting very different pairings on and very different groups of 5 on the court on purpose to see how they could play together. So the whole night was an experiment for Tennessee. And Rick even alluded to that when they were interviewing me. He said, we're finding out who we can trust tonight. Elijah said Cam Boozer was unbelievable tonight. Yeah, kid's a player. 23 rebounds. That's nuts. At one point, he had more rebounds than he did points, and he had 20 points. Unbelievable. Carl said new kids, but they weren't intimidated by Duke at all. You're exactly right. I agree. Elijah said we have a problem at 2. They got to figure it out. I agree. I don't think Bishop Boswell is going to be the long-term solution as of yet.
They don't either. They're just letting him get the most reps right now because he's the only returner. Aton Borg is going to be that guy. Like they know.
Yeah, I agree. What's the kid? I can't think of his name. From Louisiana Tech. He was wearing
Amari Abrams.
Amari Abrams. That's it. I can remember Amari, but I couldn't remember the last part of his name. John said, I haven't got to watch scrimmage yet. Plan on watching this week. I don't know how much you can take from this game. You're exactly right. I mean, I do think that Tennessee will end up playing 9 to 10 guys a night. I do think that.
I think they're absolutely going to play 10 tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised if they play 11. Like I say, if Troy Henderson hadn't been hurt, he'd have played tonight.
Elijah said our front court's going to be elite come conference play. I agree. Clay said Tennessee's going to be good. I agree. Let's see. Miyagi said they're a fun team to watch. I believe Orange said, how many more years does Gillespie have? 0. This is it. Elijah said, when you're talking about Dwayne Brown's supposed to be in high school. He said he'd average 40 points a game right now. You're right, he would. Jonathan said, barring injuries, I believe both basketball teams will be in the Final Four. That's a legitimate possibility. That is a totally legitimate possibility. And Elijah said Gillespie could have a connect type year. I mean, maybe. He's certainly a shooter. You know, it was cool. I was talking to Adam Levitt. Adam Levitt is Felix Okpara's adopted dad. He was on our show one time with Felix. Adam was talking about this team. Adam was there tonight, but this was Friday night. We were talking about this team. And he said, man, they're built a lot like Florida was last year.
Yep.
And he said, we got some muscle inside now. And he said, and Gillespie's kind of like Clayton was for Florida last year. He said the dude can light it up. So I'm excited to see what all they do the rest of this year. Elijah said, I do fear with how much we struggled with their size, especially considering how much size is in the SEC. Absolutely. Elijah said, if Felix is hitting threes consistently, look out. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how much reins or how much slack on that leash that Rick gives him to fire up threes. We all know as soon as the season starts, Rick tightens down on those reins a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Very few people get the total green light from Rick Barnes. Carl says Barnes hiding any Zakai's.
Yes, Troy Henderson. And you're going to be shocked when you watch him how similar his game is to Zakai. They love him. They think they found another Zakai Ziegler.
Volcano just said, I don't think we can block Oklahoma's defensive line. I hope we can. Our offensive line has been playing really well. Back to basketball here. Let's see. Ricky said the difference was the 15 extra free throws. Ricky said, other than playing more guys, it felt like a big time game. Were you there, Ricky? I hope Ricky's still watching. That was 3 minutes ago. Let me know if you were there. Let's see.
I think a lot of the 15 extra free throws came from, again, 11 new faces. There were multiple times last night when they were clearly confused on when they were hedging, when they were switching. A lot of the he said yes, he was. A lot of the second chance points or foul shots came off bad defensive rotations or bad switches. You know, those are all very fixable things. So, you know, I think that part will get shored up pretty quickly. That, if anything, it's one of the reasons Rick Barnes does these games. It's great film to break down and talk through and use as teaching points.
Ricky, you got to go back and watch we were talking about this. Anytime you got a scrimmage game and ESPN2 picks it up because it's sold out and you've got Jimmy Dykes and Tom Hart on the call for a scrimmage game, that's a big deal. I agree. It felt like watching it on TV. It felt like it was March, you know, in that room. And Ricky, you got to go back and watch the televised version of it because you got to go see Jimmy Dykes' interview with Rick Barnes. Probably about 8 to 9 minutes left in the first half. It was absolutely hilarious. You got to go back and watch it. It was must-see TV. Like I said, I liked when Gillespie blitzed Boozer near the end of the game.
I think you're going to see more and more of that. I really appreciated how much pressing I saw tonight from Tennessee. I think they really believe they've got the most athletic team they've ever had. And, you know, some of that is, I have to believe, some of that is some of the coaching additions. You know, Justin Caldwell's sitting there on the end of the bench. And, you know, when he was at Glenville State and when he was at Marshall, they just pressed and ran all the time. So, you know, I think he's added some new voices who are bringing some additional things that are easy to fit into what they already do. That blitz Elijah's talking about, that was an amazing jump at half court that created an easy dunk for Jacoby Gillespie. That was a set play. That wasn't instinctive. That was called. So I think there's some interesting additions that are coming and that we haven't seen that Rick has brought into the room for some extra thoughts.
And it's different this year because this year they have more depth than they've ever had, and so they have the opportunity to run up and down the court more and get more guys. I'm gonna tell you that there are some points in the second half where you could straight up tell the dudes on the court were exhausted, and they need to get a fresh set of legs on the court. Elijah said it's a good thing we basically start season 6-0 before we get a real test in Houston. Yeah, it's right around the corner. That's for sure.
Women's first exhibition is Wednesday. Men's first exhibition is next Monday.
Well,
or not first exhibition. Men's first game is next Monday.
Well, we certainly appreciate Brent and Emily High for joining us again tonight, man. That was awesome. That was so cool. We really do appreciate their time. They were wonderful. Out of the 762 people watching across all three platforms, first of all, thank you so much. We hope that you'll take a second, if you get a second, to go back and watch the start of the show. We had current Vol baseball player Brent and Emily High. Their son is Hunter High. He's currently on the baseball team at Tennessee.
He's going to be starting in right field.
Probably so. And we got to hear from his parents and their reaction to the hiring of Josh Elander. If you are a Tennessee fan, you will want to hear what they had to say because it was very encouraging. Jonathan said when Barnes wins a championship this year, he may ride off into retirement, but I hope he stays and wins back-to-back championships. Amen, brother. Elijah said, good night, bros. Hey, appreciate you, Elijah. Thank you so much, man. Mississippi Vols said, go Vols, baby. That's right. You know it. Absolutely. Carl said it was nice of them to come on the show. Down to earth, folks. Totally agree. Jonathan said, great show as always. I'll see everyone Thursday night. Hope everyone has a great week.
Is that happening or are we Wednesday?
Well, Halloween's on Friday. Well, we got a football game Thursday night. Oh, yep. That's a good point. Okay, so yeah, I'm glad you said that. I hadn't even thought about that. So we'll be live Wednesday. We have a function. We get our kids. We'll have a thing at school that night that we have to be at to support them. They'll be playing some music in the marching band for the football team. So
one of them may be singing the national anthem.
Oh, cool! That's exciting. So we will be at a high school football game Thursday night. So we will see everybody Wednesday night. Wednesday night at 9:00. Let's see. Matt said, "Go Vols, baby." You're exactly right. He knows what's coming. Ricky said, "Good night, Nega Bros." Oh, Ricky, I forgot to tell you, man. We didn't go into Tennessee. What's the path to making the playoff? Ricky just says they're in, period. He doesn't even care. But they got, if he says they went out, they're in.
Too. Went out, and they're in.
But nobody's taken into consideration the ACC championship game and
because
the Big 12
suck.
championship game.
It's pretty simple. Strength of schedule matters, and if you play a crap schedule against crap teams, they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
What if Miami probably isn't going to make it to the ACC championship game? So let's say Louisville plays Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game. Ricky says, "Stop! Listen, somebody has to be the rational one around here. I'm just saying, if Georgia Tech wins out and they only lose to Georgia, that's their only loss. That means they're a one-loss team if Louisville beats Georgia Tech in the ACC championship, Louisville gets an automatic bid. And you're telling me that they're going to take Georgia Tech, who only lost one game during the season, and that was to Georgia, they're going to hold them out of the playoff?
If they lose the ACC championship?
Yes.
Yes.
To a one-loss Louisville team.
Yes, because they have 2 losses and they have a crap schedule. 2 losses in the ACC is like 4 losses in the SEC.
But one of the losses would have been the only loss during the regular season would have been to Georgia. And the only ACC
because they
loss
can't compete in a real conference.
And the only ACC loss would have been in the ACC championship game.
Yeah,
I think
2 losses in a crap conference.
Jonathan said he agrees with you. I'm just telling you, I've seen too much, I guess. No one is taking into consideration these championship games.
Who's representing? Let's see, who's representing the ACC on the committee?
And then you got the Big 12 championship game. What if
they're only getting one team?
No, that's not accurate. If BYU wins out, they're undefeated going into the Big 12 championship game. And Texas Tech, who is still ranked higher than Tennessee, even.
Oh yeah, the ACC's representative on the committee is Damon Evans. He's the athletic director of Maryland. He only cares about basketball. He's not going to fight in that meeting. They're getting one team.
Maryland's in the Big 10 now.
Oh, that's right. Let's see, who is it?
If BYU wins out and they go into the Big 12 championship game undefeated, and then Texas Tech upsets BYU in the Big 12 championship.
The ACC doesn't have a representative on the committee. Yeah, they're only getting one team. There's nobody in there even fighting for them.
If BYU wins out,
there's a guy from Nevada, there's a guy from Michigan State, a guy from Maryland, a guy from Nebraska, a former athletic director who was at Kansas.
How does the Big 10 get 3 people in the committee?
Well, 2 of them are retired. Ivan Mizell is representing the media. That's a joke. The AD from MTSU, the AD from Baylor, and a former football player from Ole Miss. The ACC has 0 representatives on the committee. They're getting one team.
All y'all are much more optimistic than me. That's all I got to say. Clay said Tennessee wins out. It doesn't matter. Kevin said BYU and Texas Tech play each other next week. They sure do. And we desperately need BYU to win that. And then we need BYU to turn around and beat them again in the Big 12 championship game.
I'll bet when they made that decision, when they created the hierarchy of who was representing on the committee, I bet it's when Maryland was still in the ACC. And when they switched, they didn't replace it because they are literally the only Power 4 conference not represented.
So Houston right now. All right, let's get even. Ricky said we desperately need to just win. Absolutely, 100%.
Win out and you're in.
I love this. People are calling me a negaball because I'm literally just using like my common sense here to realize that this is not a done deal. BYU and Cincinnati are both undefeated right now in the Big 12.
Yep.
They don't play each other.
No, but Cincinnati's going to lose this weekend. Utah's going to beat them. It's at Utah.
Hope so.
It's at Utah.
But game day will be there, actually. Let's say both of them win out. They go to the Big 12 championship game. You got 2 undefeated Big 12 teams. One of them's getting an automatic bid. What if Cincinnati beats BYU?
Then BYU won't get in. I'm just telling you, strength of schedule matters. Like, they're going to look at this conference and go, there's nobody here.
But you and I both know the exact same thing is going to happen. There's only one representative for the SEC in that room. And they're going to look at this. You said Ole Miss.
There's two. There's a former player from Ole Miss. Jeff Long, who used to be the AD at Arkansas, is on the committee.
All right, there you
go.
But you and I both know what's going to happen. Right now, you're looking at three teams from the Big Ten: Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State. And people are game days politicking for Michigan to still be in the conversation. That's
actually, you know what? The Big 12 only has one person in the room. So the ACC has none, and the Big 12 has one.
So you've got three teams from the Big Ten right now: Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. Okay. You've got from the SEC right now, you've got Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss. So that's four. Then you've got the group of six highest ranked team, whoever that ends up being. It's so up in the air right now. Navy's undefeated, and they're not even ranked. Navy and North Texas are currently leading the AAC. Neither one of them are ranked. They play each other this weekend. It's a big deal. It's a big game.
If they continued the rankings right now, Navy would be number 26.
So, you got 3 Big Ten, 4 SEC, the group of 6, that's 8. You have 4 spots left. One spot is going to be the Big 12 champion, guaranteed. One spot is going to be the ACC champion, guaranteed. So you have 2 spots left. So
Notre Dame and Tennessee.
Well, Notre Dame's one of them for sure, because they play no one the rest of the season. They will win out. They're going to get in. Like, that's just the way it is. They're going to be in. So now you have 1 spot left. You're telling y'all, people in the comments too, y'all really think that the committee, that people representing the whole country will be like, wait a second, we're going to put 5 SEC teams in and only 1 ACC and 1 Big 12?
There's been 5 SEC schools in the top 10 the entire season.
I agree totally. But we all hear the same talking points every year when on ESPN, on all these places, and then people just bash the SEC whenever they get beat in the playoff, because it's like, oh, see, there shouldn't have been that many teams in there anyway. And so
but after the bashing's over, the check still comes into the NCAA. and they are going to do whatever they can to make as much money as they possibly can. And they are not going to pick a Georgia Tech over a Tennessee. They're not going to pick a Louisville over a Tennessee. And they're definitely not picking a Houston or a Texas Tech over a Tennessee, because at the end of the day, they want the biggest check they can get.
I totally agree. But that might be that decision might be taken out of their hands, is what I'm saying.
By who?
Texas Tech. Or Louisville, if they go in and win the ACC championship or the Big 12 championship, and then you've got an undefeated team that they beat.
In order for that to happen, someone has to lose that's currently in that top 10 in both of those scenarios. There is no one representing the ACC in that room. There is one person representing the Big 12 in that room, and their voice is weak because the conference sucks. And so the 2 major players are the 2 big boys, and everybody knows it. And those strength of schedules are going to win out.
Listen, I agree with everyone. If Tennessee wins out, the statistical likelihood of them getting in is pretty good. I agree. But I also know that we're really only talking about one spot right now. And they're going to have conference championship teams and games, teams playing in games that they have to consider who are currently ranked higher than Tennessee, who are going to have the same amount or less losses than Tennessee. I'm just saying it is not a guarantee.
And really the SEC has 3 people in the room because the AD at Middle Tennessee State is on the committee. And he's an employee of the Tennessee Board of Regents. So technically we have 3 people in the room.
Like I said, I sincerely hope we get in. I think we probably would, but it is certainly in no way a done deal if we win out. It's just not. There are 2. Matt said, I agree with Evan. We're doomed. I mean, we're talking about, goodness, 4, 5, 6 teams vying for one spot right now.
And only one has one of the top offenses in America and a much higher strength of schedule.
I agree with that.
And at the end of the day, the NCAA only cares about cha-ching.
But the thing that you're not,
they got to bank as much money as they can for future lawsuits.
No, the biggest thing Tennessee has going for them is their losses are to Georgia and Alabama, which I know Tennessee fans don't want to hear this, but that's why Georgia and Alabama need to win out.
Sure.
They do not need to lose again, period. End of story. Georgia and Alabama really need to win out. And that only benefits Tennessee in the long run. It only helps Tennessee in order to get in the playoff. That's the best thing Tennessee has going for them right now, is that the 2 losses they have are to those 2 teams. So we really need to hope that those 2 teams keep on doing really, really well. And I know that goes against everything in the Tennessee fans' mind to.
Well, Georgia's winning out. They don't have anything left on their schedule.
I wouldn't look past Georgia Tech with them. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech
and
Alabama,
other than at Oklahoma, Alabama doesn't really have anything on their schedule left either. I mean, they're going to play LSU in 2 weeks without a head coach.
And they might be playing Auburn without a head coach too.
Yep.
So, Rebel Juice said, what's the rest of Ole Miss's schedule? That's a great question. Here, I'll pull it up for you.
I got it right here.
Okay.
They've just got 4 games left. They're at South Carolina, at the Citadel. That'll be a barn burner. At Florida and Mississippi State at home. So they're going 4-0.
Yeah, they're not going to lose another game.
No.
Ricky said ACC Bros, new title of the show in the world.
Evan badly wants to represent the ACC on the committee now that he knows they have no representation.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't know why
he wants to go in there and fight for Louisville like there's no tomorrow.
I mean, think about last year. Tennessee should have been ranked like 7th, and instead we got 9th, and we had to go to Ohio State. I mean, like, think about every single year in the NCAA basketball selection show. Tennessee gets strategically placed in a region every single year solely for headlines. I mean, it's a repetitive thing. This isn't some new thing that I'm talking about. We all have seen this story too many times. And I'm telling you that we're all going to hear, can you really put a 2-loss SEC team in when they already have 4 teams in over a 1-loss Big 12 or a 1-loss ACC team when they only have 1 team in? Like that's all we're going to hear. And should they? Yes, they should. 100% they should put Tennessee in over a Texas Tech or in over a Louisville or whoever, or a Miami even. They should put Tennessee in over them. Tennessee's better than Miami. They should put them in over that. Will they? Nobody knows. We're going to have to wait to find out. because that's the thing. Now you've got really 4 teams in the ACC. You've got Miami, Georgia Tech, Louisville, and Virginia.
Pick one.
And
That's all they're going to get.
The problem is 3 of them don't play each other. They have very few ranked teams left on their schedule. And so they're all going to go in their conference championship game. And if somebody wins that game that shouldn't win, Miami's not making the conference championship game. They're not even going to make it.
I wouldn't say that.
No, they ain't making it.
A lot can happen between now and then.
Well, I agree with that. But Miami is currently like, what, 6th or 7th in their conference?
Let's
see. 1, 2,
They're
3, 4, 5,
currently
6,
7th, but they only have
7th.
one loss. And they're 7th because they haven't played hardly any conference games.
So right now in that conference, you have Georgia Tech, Virginia, both undefeated in conference. You've got
Virginia
Pitt,
ain't gonna be
Louisville,
undefeated.
SMU, Duke, all ahead of Miami. So I think it's probably going to end up being Georgia Tech and Louisville in that championship game because Louisville now has the tiebreaker head-to-head against Miami. So I think it's going to be probably Georgia Tech and Louisville. And that's a problem.
November 22nd, Louisville has to go to SMU.
See, I'm afraid I just discovered how we're going to get screwed out of the playoff.
Nah.
Miami is not going to be in the ACC championship game. It's going to be Louisville and Georgia Tech.
If Miami isn't in the SEC championship game, it's because they have lost already again. They've lost again, and they're not even in the top 15 anymore.
Not if Louisville and Miami both went out. Louisville has the head-to-head over Miami, and Georgia Tech doesn't play either one of them.
But Pitt still has to play Miami. So if Pitt beats Miami, that gives Miami another loss, and they're out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If Louisville and Miami both win out, Miami's currently ranked 9th in the country. If Louisville and Miami both win out, it's going to be Louisville against Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game. The winner of that gets an automatic bid.
Yeah.
And then Miami, who's not going to be playing in the ACC championship game, is in the playoff because they're in the top 10. And Tennessee gets left out in that situation.
I don't know about that.
Because that's that one spot that we're talking about that we're trying to sneak into. I'm telling y'all, is it possible for Tennessee to make the playoff? Of course it is. 100% it's possible. Is it a sure guarantee they're in if we win out? Not even a little bit. It is not a guarantee. There are way too many other things that have to happen for Tennessee to get that last spot. Now, could they all work out and do it? Sure. But I'm telling you, the ACC and the Big 12 are a real problem for Tennessee right now. Tennessee needs to be rooting for every team that plays Miami. Tennessee needs to be rooting for every team that plays Louisville. And Tennessee needs to be rooting for every time, I hate to say this, but every time Alabama and Georgia step on the field, Tennessee needs to hope that they dominate whoever they're playing.
I don't see Louisville winning at SMU. I just don't see that happening.
I mean, I hope they don't. I hope SMU beats them. But I'm just saying, like, this path is not a surefire we're in kind of situation. Matt said, how about we worry about Oklahoma instead of the playoffs?
Yeah.
Fair point, Matt. I agree. Fair point. Let's see. Clay said, Evan, if you're right, I'm going to be so mad. Ricky said, I'm not cheering for Georgia over Georgia Tech. Well, that one probably doesn't matter because they're both top 7 teams. I mean, that one, Georgia could lose that and they'll still be a top 10 team.
Yeah, but if Georgia wins, that's a loss for Georgia Tech, and they drop.
Oh, we need Georgia to beat Georgia Tech. But Ricky is vehemently opposed to Georgia. He will not cheer for them for anything. I'm not cheering for him. I just want him to win so we win. That's bottom line. But I mean, here's another scenario. If Georgia Tech beats Georgia, they're in. Who cares what happens in the ACC championship game then? If they lose in that game, they're in anyway. So there goes the other spot that Tennessee gets knocked out of. I mean, it's not a done deal. I sincerely hope Tennessee wins out because obviously if they do, they got a great shot at getting in. But man, there's a lot of other stuff that has to happen. I'm just saying there is. That's just the reality of the situation. I really hope they get in. But I know I'm personally cheering for every team that plays against Miami and every team that plays against Louisville over the next 5 weeks. I hope they dominate. And one of two things needs to happen. Either Ole Miss needs to win out so that they're not that other 2-loss SEC team. They either need to win out, which I think they will, or they need to lose 3 more so that they're totally out of the conversation and Tennessee leapfrogs Ole Miss. Rebel Juice said this weekend Tennessee takes Oklahoma out of the playoffs. I think Oklahoma's already out of the playoffs. They're out. They're not going to make it because Oklahoma has 4 games remaining on their schedule against 4 ranked teams, so they ain't making it. But this will be a fun Sunday night tradition for the next 5 weeks. Will Tennessee get in? And then,
as hard as you fight for the ACC, they need to hire you as their chair.
I'm not fighting for the ACC. I just know what the committee is going to think. I just do.
They're not going to think anything. There's nobody from the ACC in the room. They literally have 0 representation. They'll be an afterthought.
I'm just saying Miami being a top 10 team right now, that's dangerous. Because Miami is not better than Tennessee. Tennessee is a much better team than Miami. But John said Evan is the new commissioner of the ACC. John said if our defense doesn't get better, it probably won't even matter. Rebel Juice said the ACC is dead. Yeah, it's heading down that road for sure. But the problem is there's 2 ACC teams ranked ahead of Tennessee right now.
Not a problem.
One of them's not going to be in the ACC championship game. And then we got an issue because that team means they're in now. And
we
then
don't,
whoever wins
because
the ACC championship game gets in too.
You will have talked about the ACC more in the last 20 minutes than will be discussed about them in that room because there's nobody bringing them up.
Nolan said I should be ACC commissioner too. Mina Leggy said I enjoy watching Ruston talk Evan off the ledge. Ricky said could NC State sneak in? No, unfortunately they can't. They're 4-4. Ricky said FSU is a big win too. Nolan said Evan's a closet Boston College fan.
He's a Pitt Panther at heart.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Boston College, I love hearing Joe Tessitore call games now. I always have anyway. He's the best. But his son was a kicker at Boston College. And Joe, it's hilarious listening to call a game because I can't remember what it was this past weekend, but it was some game that he was calling and it was coming down to like the final drive. They're going to try to kick a field goal, win the game kind of thing. And so that, they always do the thing where they show the kicker warming up on the sideline and he's kicking, warming his leg up, kicking into the net over and over and over. And to hear Joe Tessitore call that shot of the kicker warming up on the sideline, dude, it was such exquisite detail of what that kicker, he's like, and now he's going through his motion, making sure his leg comes through it. And he's like talking about what he's thinking and everything. It was so detailed. And I mean, it was poetry. It was amazing. I've never heard an analysis of the kicker warming up on the sideline as in-depth and deep as I did Joe Tessitore this weekend. Jonathan said, I refuse to try and figure out who's in the playoffs from the AP poll because it's stupid and doesn't matter at all once playoff polls come out. I agree. The playoff poll is what matters. But once again, the people in that playoff committee room, they see both the coaches poll and the AP poll for 48 hours before they release their poll. So it 100% does impact what they do. It just does. Rebel G said Clemson and FSU will definitely be SEC teams when I don't think so. The SEC told them they don't want them.
Yeah, they're not at the top of the SEC's list.
Let's see, Mr. Osborne, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He said, as always, excellent show, Vol Bros. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Go Vols, baby. Absolutely. We had a fun watch party last night with our watch party fan members watching the Kentucky game. Audrey walked away with a free hoodie from our website. That was pretty cool. We always give away merch during those watch parties. Nolan said, don't try to pull the wool over my eyes, Evan. I know a Wake Forest Demon Deacon when I see one. I do remember going to, was it Nashville, where we went and saw UTC play Wake Forest in the first round of the NCAA tournament in like 1994.
Yeah. Bridgestone Arena.
Tim Duncan was playing for Wake Forest. I remember that. That was pretty cool. Kevin said you're putting way too much into the 7. Crap load of football left to play. I understand. I totally get it. Nolan said Ruston is at least a respectable ACC fan. His backup team is SMU. John said Georgia Tech will be a SEC team again when the ACC disbands. If they keep playing like they are this year, that's a possibility.
So the top 2 schools on the SEC's list are North Carolina and Virginia, because they want their media representation. Georgia Tech would probably be 3rd because of the Atlanta market. And that's they make those decisions based on revenue. They don't make it based on who the school is.
I don't even know what Ricky's talking about when he's I think he's just spouting off here. Unless he's saying we both should be fired. Well, Ricky, I'm glad you got to go up to that game tonight, man. I'm glad you were in Thompson Bowling. It looked like an awesome atmosphere, that's for sure. Well, to the 787 people watching across all 3 platforms, first of all, we appreciate you watching the Vol Bro and ACC Bro podcast. All I'm doing, I'm not advocating for anyone other than Tennessee. I just want us to be not disillusioned with what's the reality of the situation. Ricky said the Food City Center. Yeah, I know. It's Thompson Bowling Arena. Nolan said, can we swap Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech for Missouri and Arkansas? That's fair. Jonathan, yeah, I mean, Jonathan made a good point. He said, I just selfishly want Georgia Tech back in the SEC because they were a founding member. Yeah, they sure were. So was Tulane, though. So,
and the University of the South.
I was about to say, and so was Sewanee. Yeah, we need to get Sewanee back in here.
I don't think there's anybody in Texas or Texas A&M that wants to make the trek to Mont Eagle Mountain.
Hey, they did rebuild that smokehouse restaurant up there after it burned down, though, so that's a good thing.
I think Sewanee's football stadium holds about 800, so might be a little tight.
It does. There is now a McDonald's and a Sonic at the Montego Mountain exit. I'm just saying it's getting legit up there.
Exploding.
It is a beautiful campus, though. It is a gorgeous campus. I'll give them that. Nolan said the SACC bros, the Southernish Academic Coastal Conference. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Well, we appreciate y'all so much, man. It's been a blast. To the 788 folks, y'all are awesome. We appreciate you. Rebel Juice said there's 3 Tennessee teams ranked right now. Absolutely. That has to be like the first time ever, right? I mean, it's got to be. John said, I agree. Bring back all the founding members. I want to see Sewanee as the next SEC football powerhouse. That's great. Well, thank you all so much. This has been a lot of fun. As Ruston mentioned earlier, we will be live on Wednesday of this week, not Thursday, because we have something we got to do on Thursday for our kids. So we're going to be rooting and cheering them on. So we will be live Wednesday instead. That'll be 9:00 Eastern. We'll be previewing the dark mode Oklahoma game coming up this weekend. So super excited about that. So we appreciate everybody so much for joining us. Be on the lookout tomorrow. I'm gonna cut out the part, clip out the part where Brent and Emily Hyde joined us at the beginning of the show, and I'm gonna post that as a standalone video tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. If you're just tuning in, we got 795 people watching right now across all 3 platforms. We're fortunate enough to have current Vol baseball player Hunter High. His parents joined us at the very beginning of the show to give us their reaction to the hiring of Josh Elander. It was phenomenal. It was so good getting to hear from them. So be looking for that tomorrow. John said, I'll see everybody Wednesday night. This was a fun show. I wonder when Evan's going to start his ACC podcast. That's pretty good. Matt, appreciate you, man. Go Vols, baby, not the ACC. Go Vols, and we will see everybody very, very soon. This was a lot of fun. We hope everybody has a great week.